So far in this series, we have flipped 6 different computers, and out of those 6 computers, 5 of those have already sold, earning us quite a bit of money that we are going to use to build the epic computer that I'm gonna end up giving away to one of you guys. But today's project is a little different. Every item that we are going to use for this build was purchased off of eBay. Well, all but one. Now, not everybody lives in an area where the marketplace is saturated with options when it comes to computers or computer hardware. And in some cases, you may live in an area where people who think their stuff that looks like this has somehow retained its value for multiple years. And in some cases, you find that truly special individual who thinks that their computer has somehow gained value over the years. Some people are just so special. Now, all of the items that you see right next to me were purchased off of eBay with the exception of one item. The idea here is to see if it is possible to build a computer using only parts from eBay and flip that for a profit. And the beauty of this is that if this works, anybody could have built this system right here and made a little extra cheddar. So let's kick this off and talk about the one and only item in this entire build that isn't from eBay. This case right here is the Focus 2 by Fractal, and it's a fantastic option for anybody looking to build a brand new system. Now, the reason that I chose to go with this case as opposed to something that I could find on eBay is simply because of the price tag. You can pick up this for brand new off Newegg for just $57. This case can support a full ATX motherboard. It has a massive tempered glass viewing panel so that you can see every inch of your hardware. It comes equipped with 2 ARGB 140mm fans up at the front. It can support a 360mm radiator in the front. It can support a 120mm radiator in the back and a 240mm radiator on top. And with this mesh front style here, you get fantastic airflow. And it is a perfect choice for whatever kind of computer you're thinking about building. So with our computer case prepped and ready to go, it's time to go ahead and talk about the motherboard and the CPU that we're going to be using for our system today. Now, what I did was I went on ebay.com and I searched for motherboard CPU combos. You want to go ahead and do that because a lot of times you'll find them selling the motherboard, the CPU, and extras such as a CPU cooler, maybe some RAM, maybe a hard drive. And while I was searching, I came across this board right here. Now, this board is an older ASRock board and it comes with an i5 4670K processor and 16 gigabytes of RAM. And for a total price of $75, that's not a terrible deal. Now, the 4670K series processor, it's an older processor, but it is a K series, so we will be able to put a small overclock on that and get a little bit more performance out of it. Now, because the CPU that we are going to use is a K-series CPU, I did say I want to put a overclock on that processor so we can try to capture as much performance out of that older CPU as we possibly can. And to do that, we are going to need to make sure that we can maintain temperatures low enough so that the system does not begin to thermal throttle. And to do that, for $22, I picked up this Vitro air cooler. Now, this should do a decent job of making sure that the CPU stays cold enough so that we get a nice smooth gameplay for the entire experience. So for the power supply we're going to be putting in our system, we are going to use this 600 watt thermal take power supply. Now, I have heard that so many people do not like this brand of power supply, and I understand that there are much better power supplies out there, but if you are doing a budget build, this is a very good option to go with. I have used so many of these in the past, and I have run into zero issues with them. So for our build, we are going to be using the 600 watt variant. We could have gone with the 500 watt, but the difference in price was so very small that I felt like going with 600 watts for $42 was a pretty darn good deal. Now, typically for the storage that I purchase for any of the builds that I do, I usually go to Amazon or Newegg because you can find fantastic deals for 1 terabyte of storage on SSDs and NVMEs for $30, $40. But to keep up with the theme of everything coming from eBay as much as I possibly can, because I cheated with the case, I did pick up this 1 terabyte SATA SSD by Micron. Now, it is an older SSD, but it was $30 and it will complement this build pretty well. Now, we are almost done with our build here, but there is one more piece that we do need to talk about, and that is this graphics card right here. This is an XFX RX 5700 XT graphics card, and I was able to pick this up for only $130. Now, it is an 8 gig card, and I wanted to make sure that we did at least have an 8 gig card for this build, and it is a triple fan design. So just like our CPU, where we are going to overclock that, we're going to overclock this GPU as well, and because it's the triple fan, we have little worry about it overheating. So all of our hardware is in, let's finish buttoning this up. So during the build process of this computer right here, somebody was messaging me about the computer we built in the last episode. Now, if you do remember the last episode, we were selling that computer for $600, and well, they paid $600 for it. So that just means that this big old fat stack of cash is just gonna get a little bit bigger, making us get closer and closer to building your computer. Now, before we go ahead and power this system on for the first time to see if it works, I do want to throw out this small disclaimer. Whenever you are buying used computer parts, there is always a risk that it may not work. But it's a bigger risk off eBay because there's no way to try and test the item before you purchase it. So when you do buy things from eBay, it is very important that you look at the seller profile to see if he has a good seller rating. So that way, at least you know that that person is selling reputable quality products rather than maybe a brand new seller who's just trying to sell you his e-waste. But let's go ahead and push this button now so that I know if I have an excuse to play video games for the rest of the night or if I'm gonna spend the rest of the night troubleshooting. All right, so the two front fans are working. This is working. GPU spinning, and there's our image. Woo! All right, so our eBay computer seems to be working. Let's see how well it plays some video games. So the only real issue that I have with this computer is that there is no I/O shield for the motherboard. Now, the guy that sent it to me, I didn't see it in the listing, but he does say in the listing that he had misplaced the I/O shield. So that's on me. I didn't know that it was missing, but I think for the performance of the computer, I can overlook the fact that there is no I/O shield. Now, before I made $600 off selling the last computer, our grand total was $720 in our bank, and after the $600 was added to it, our grand total was $1,320. Now, this computer right here cost me $359 to put together, and I think that that is a pretty good price for a pretty solid computer, and that's going to bring our new grand total down to $961, and that's pretty decent with still having to sell this computer. Now, I am going to list this computer for $500 and see what happens. I think that that is a pretty decent price based off of the gameplay that we had for a computer like this, but who knows? Let me know in the comments down below if you think that that's a good price or if I am shooting a little too high. But you know, something is only worth what somebody's willing to pay for it anyways. But thank you for sticking around with me, guys. I really, really appreciate it. I think that this computer turned out fantastic, and it's definitely gonna help us add a little bit more money to this stack so that we can build your computer just a little bit faster. If you have not subscribed to the channel, please go ahead down below and hit the subscribe button. It would mean the world to me. But as always, no matter where you are in the world, I hope that you are having a fantastic day. And I'll see you in the next video.